to Similarly Different. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Similarly Different. This episode is coming out in the month of May. If you don't know, Men's Mental Health Month is in May. So I was really picking at my brain, like, who do I want to talk about this topic? I want to not only have a person that is in their own journey, but also very aware of themselves, very vocal and transparent, but also that has people around them that understands the journey that they're on, the mission they've been on. And I thought of none other than Charlie and Paloma. Now, you guys don't know this, but I've actually known Charlie and Paloma for, I think, over 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Our
More than
history
13,
goes,
actually.
oh, 13, really?
Yeah.
13 or 14.
Was
Oh
like
my God.
2012.
Okay, so they came from Mexico. They're from Mexico. And it was back in my life of the music industry. I was a baby. And since then, we've kept in touch. I've seen their evolvement. They've seen my evolvement and the different stages I've gone through. And Charlie has been very vocal on social media, which I thought was so beautiful about his own journey. So thank you guys for being here. I can't wait to talk to you guys and let everybody know a little bit more about you.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you for
us.
having us.
Yeah.
Thank you for having
for
us.
Oh,
having
and they're
us.
also husband and wife. They've been
Yes.
together for a gazillion years.
A gazillion, 17 years.
17 years.
We've
That
been
is
together
so
17
crazy.
years. And we've been partners in business for 16 years.
It's so insane. And you guys have been married for
2.5.
2.5
2.5 years,
3
yeah.
years this year, yeah.
It's so crazy because
Yeah.
you rarely come across partnerships that not only in business, in personal, are this long.
Yeah.
And I've always just admired you guys. When I met them, they were working together, and just seeing how they work together, they, I think, know each other's talents very well and where each other blossoms. And you guys just like allow each other to maneuver very well. So just tell everyone that doesn't know a little bit about you guys, and then we'll jump right into it.
Of course. Well, I'm Paloma Hedge. I was born in Guadalajara, Mexico, but grew up in Cuernavaca. That is a small town near to Mexico City. So I grew up there and I went to school there. And when I was in college, I was studying graphic design. I'm a graphic designer. I met Charlie. He'll tell you about his story. And then, we started working together. And then we moved here to LA. And I'm from Mexico, born and raised. And I couldn't be more Mexican, I love my country. But I also do love LA specifically,
Yeah.
I feel this is home. And I'm a graphic designer. We both have Myth Media, that it's our company, that it's label management, publishing agency, a lot of things in the entertainment industry. The VP of marketing specifically, I'm super organized. Like on productions, I'm the one that organizes everything. I think that's like one of my strongest things. I do here and there things on the creative side as well, but I consider my biggest things like marketing, organizing day to day. I love what I do. I love music. I love the entertainment business. And I love working with Charlie.
And I love LA.
And I love LA.
LA.
And I love working with Charlie. That I know that's, part of the
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that because it's super hard. It's not that easy, to work with your partner. So
I've been there.
We'll get into that. Yeah.
More than once.
Yeah, when we met you, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Charlie. I'm 40 years old now, which is interesting. And born and raised in Mexico. Grew up in Guadalajara. Grew up in Cuernavaca. I'm snatching your story.
Exactly.
I grew up in Guadalajara.
That's my story.
That's your story.
Cuando se le apaga la mente.
Exacto.
And we met there, and we moved to LA 13 years ago. We started, Paloma and me, we've been together as a couple for 17 years, been working together for 16 years. And, we made our first, I'm going to call it company, but our first, business kind of adventure in Mexico together 16 years ago. And that has morphed into the company we have now and, the life that we built together, our professional life and our business life and our personal life. So yeah, I'm thankful to be here, thankful to have this space to share our story a little bit. And hopefully, this experiences can resonate with someone and serve as that instrument of someone to be like, oh shit, Sometimes I think, when you see other people's stories and experiences, that speaks a lot to one's own experience and you see reflected in that. So yeah, that's the purpose of being here. I'm very thankful to be here.
And I
with
think
you.
it's so important, especially the fact that you guys are in the entertainment industry overall, that you're so vulnerable and vocal because there's so much strength in that. And a lot of the time, as Latinos, Blacks, Asians, anything of a minority, even honestly whites sometimes, as a man, you're taught to dilute hide or push to the back any feelings that may come up. And I actually asked a few friends yesterday, and I put on social media, like, do you guys have questions about men's mental health? And I was reading to them. There was so many questions that came in. And more than ever, I think mental health is not only a male topic, but overall human topic that we're having. And for me, I grew up going to therapy since I was 13 years old because of my circumstance. My mom put me in therapy because there was things that she couldn't tackle or face and teach me. But when was the first time that you started being interested in the idea of something's not right here of how I'm feeling?
It exploded in my face. Like, it's interesting because I think our journey is like, I think life gives you the experiences that you're gonna like have to learn whatever it is, right? And some things, it depends on you to what you do with this. In my case, my mental health journey came from a very like rough corner. Approximately like, I wanna say like 9 years ago or almost 10 years ago, I had my first like really, really bad like anxiety attack. Like really bad like panic attack, anxiety, full on blown, like kind of like psychosis like thing. And to like put it in a nutshell, I was like, it was like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I was like thinking about a gazillion things ramping in my mind and super stressed, whatever it is. And I'm like, I'm having a heart attack, right? And that, long story short.
Were you at home or were you out? Oh, okay.
I was home. I was home, woke up Paloma, and I'm like, you gotta take me to the hospital. I think I'm gonna have a heart attack, like for real.
So it was, I'm gonna just jump into that. It was like 3 a.m. We just moved to LA, so it was earlier than that because I didn't knew like a lot of hospitals nearby or anything.
Yeah, right.
So he was like, I'm gonna die. Take me to the hospital. And I was like,
because I felt I was gonna die.
Yeah.
Like so,
Yeah.
so I ended up in the emergency room, and they made test whatever, ECGs, check my heart, my brain, my whole, and the doctor is like, you're having a panic attack. I'm like, what do you mean?
Right.
You're like, have you been sleeping? Have you been this? I'm like, so that was what like put me on the path of like, oh shit, like this is something that I really need to pay attention to and address. I didn't understand what was happening. I think that was like the first like thing and it took me a minute to like really like address it. I had a second panic attack, a third panic attack, like very back to back. This was like within like 6 months or something like that. I was having a really bad time. And I was in Mexico, we were traveling. I remember, I'm never gonna forget this. Like we were in Mexico for like 4 days. We were gonna go to Spain the next day. And I'm with my mom and dad, and I have a terrible like anxiety and panic attack.
How do your parents take it? Was it something that they were aware of?
No, they didn't know. And the thing is like, look, I didn't have a lot of access to mental health growing up. Like it's not something that was a conversation in my house. It's just something that was like a conversation forget about my house, in my environment.
Yeah.
It wasn't a conversation. So I don't think it was it wasn't because it was out of their like cultural, probably like
For
knowledge.
sure.
Makes sense?
I mean, as Latinos, you're taught, especially a man, que se calle y que arregle y que traiga dinero.
I'll tell you about it, but I understood later, like in therapy, like, oh wait, this is like way older. This is like, and I looked into my like environment growing up, my schools, how like, the cultural rules in a way of my mom and dad's family and how does it goes. And it's very rooted in that, right? But well, we were in Mexico and I have this super bad like anxiety attack. And my mom calls my aunt or something like that. I don't really remember how it was. But she's like, hey, call this doctor. He's our like doctor who is also like a psychotherapist.
Okay.
Calls this guy. So we go to his practice. He checks me up, he sits me down and he's like, you're having an anxiety attack, you're having a panic attack. And I'm like, but no, it's my heart. And he's like, it's a panic attack. And I want you to talk about it with me. So that was like, I think my first ever like emergency therapy session. So he hands me a Xanax and he's like, I need to take this pill and because I need to calm down and we need to talk. And I think that was my first like emergency therapy session. That was like, so my approach to like mental health that evolved into a multiplicity of things, a path of like, mental health, yes, but also spiritual health and spiritual balance and all of that. I think it began there. I think it has its first like, and I believe just, it was how life was intended to be to me, right? And that's where it began, like, it wasn't planned.
It's so funny because I always say wouldn't it be great if we just like learn things in a more calm way? But a lot of the times it takes chaos. It takes you literally hitting rock bottom in whatever way that is, whether it's financial, whether it's mental, whether it's uncomfortability. It truly takes uncomfortability to grow. It's either in that moment that you were like, bueno, I'm going to keep throwing Xanax in the back and just forget about it. This is something I guess I feel. Or the curiosity of, there has to be a reason why I'm feeling this way, and how can I shift it and change it? So you decided to take the second route.
It took time.
Yeah.
It took time. It took several more anxiety attacks. It was an interesting time because, like, I look to your point. Yes, I read this thing. If you ask God for patience, He's going to give you the opportunity to be patient. Mm-hmm. If you ask God, like, hey, I want to learn about this, He's going to give you the opportunity to learn about that. That doesn't mean He's going to give you the answers.
Yeah.
God's going to give you the opportunity to learn about like things, right? And that comes with like rough experiences a lot of times. I had a lot of anxiety attacks, and it was interesting because at this point we were traveling a lot, and I had an anxiety attack like in Chile, for example. Ended up in the year in Chile. I had anxiety attack in Miami, and it was tough for me. It was very tough, and I think it was tough for everyone around me. Like with Paloma, it was like really tough. You know, it was very tough at home.
That's what I was gonna ask. Y Paloma, tú viéndolo a él, like you seeing him the whole time, experiencing this. Had you ever had an anxiety attack? Had you ever experienced it? Like, how were you trying to support him, or did it create a friction at a time because of misunderstanding?
I mean, the first times that happened to him, I was so scared because first of all, I was young. I was like 26, 28, taking care of a teenager, which is Sofia, that lived with us. So, trying to that, and then the business, and then him having that, I was like, what's going on?
Right.
One thing that I'm really thankful about is like my mom lives here in Orange County, so she was kind of close to us. So feeling that we had like, like a support, like family here for us was really like important. Because we have a story that I was traveling. I was with Sofia, which is one of our like artist clients. I was with her in Argentina, and we were supposed to come back. And because a volcano exploded, literally, we weren't able to fly. And Charlie was having a huge panic attack, and he was calling me. And I remember perfectly. We were with the president of Warner Argentina in a dinner with everyone, and he was like, "Please don't hang up because I think I'm gonna die." And I couldn't come back. I was over there, and it was horrible. So I had to call my mom, and I was like, please go get Charlie and take care of him. So it was a good thing that she was close. But well, long story short, it was really difficult for me, especially at the beginning, because I didn't understand. And same as Charlie, I didn't grow up with the topic like near us. Like just where we grew up, people that went to therapy were just like the problematic kids at school, or people that it's crazy, that was only it. And for me was like, what is going on, what I'm supposed to do. So when we went to the first therapist, that he was also a doctor, for me, he was like an angel because like he was in the moment, and I was like somebody that can like actually help us. And he was super like helpful, and actually he's your therapist till date.
Still my therapist.
Yeah.
He hasn't been my therapist for like the last like all of these years.
Like 6
But
years.
he's my therapist right now.
Yeah. And then trying to understand that, okay, he's not dying, he's just having a panic attack. How I have to be around him, because if I'm like, nothing's happening, then he's going to get mad because he feels something's up. It's a lot. I think a lot of times people that is next to people with like, some type of like disease, issues, mental health, it's also super difficult for them because you have to know how to handle the situations.
Yeah.
But then it happened to me that because we are all the time together, working together, living together, you start to create like symbiosis, or como se llama, that you become
Osmosis?
one. Osmosis.
Symbiosis is called, no? Like
Becoming
synchronizing,
one.
like, no, you don't become one, but you synchronize like your energy. So it's like
Right. I mean, you're
synchronizing.
absorbing each other.
Yes.
Of course.
So then I started to have panic attacks and anxiety. And I started doing therapy, and thankfully for me, I've never went to the hospital or anything because I've been really like conscious about what's happening to me. So I try to do what I know I have to do in that moment, that it's, like the breathings and aterrizar, and okay, I'm here, this is happening to me. Mm-hmm. So I've been with my therapy for the last, I think, 8 or 9 years. And for me, it's just incredible. And I love therapy because it has helped me so much grow and also understand other things,
Yes, and I think that a lot of people, whether you're on the side that you're currently feeling lost like you're drowning or whatever, like Charlie was at his time and how you were when you were absorbing anything, or just to have an understanding. I went on a date, I think, in the middle of last year. And I was talking to the guy and I asked him, I was like, oh, you know, I've done therapy. I love like emotional awareness and emotional maturity and da-da-da-da. And he was like, oh, I've never done therapy. I mean, I don't need it. And I think that's the biggest misconception. You could have had a great childhood. You could have had successful life. You could be a Nepo baby and have never had any worries, or you could have been a Nepo baby and had a horrible childhood. You know, there are so many places that you could come from, but first and foremost, therapy is not for problem children or problem humans. It's for you to be able to understand what you're feeling and how to treat others better. It creates, I believe, a little bit of empathy, understanding, and awareness outside of yourself, because a lot of the times when you are just stuck in your own bubble, it's all you see and all you know. You could read books. There is therapy, self-help books. But I think until you're able to talk to somebody that is outside your circle, outside yourself, you can't truly see things from a different perspective. And I think that that's such a big misconception. And even if somebody is doing therapy like yourself and it was first led on that, and I think it's a silver lining, like, you know, you started getting the anxiety from it, but maybe if you didn't start feeling uncomfortable, you wouldn't have wanted to be like, maybe I should tap into this and see how I can grow to help him, but also to help myself.
Of course. Yeah. And you know something, us Mexicans, Latins, as you were saying, and we always talk about this, is like, no, like men don't cry, boys don't cry. And when a young little boy like falls or whatever, it's like, boys don't cry. You know, like they're teach to not putting their feelings out there, you know, to be emotionless. It's horrible. Yeah. So I love that Charlie's so open about it. And because I've seen his journey, and that's one of the things that I admire the most about him, because I've seen the will that he has to become a better person, and, you know, taking off all the, I don't know how even like saying in Spanish.
The mask, la chaquetas.
Como que todo lo que espera de ti la sociedad, everything that it's expected of a man. And then he's in the music industry, and then he's a businessman, and then he's an executive. He has to be strong. And he, you know, like, yeah, I'm great in what I'm doing, but I also have this part. And I think it's amazing that he's sharing that, because we know so many people with a lot of circumstances, issues, and they're so like no therapy, because how can I go as a man to therapy, you know? Like it's for weak. It's like that equal to be like a weak person, or to cry, or to talk to your friends about problems, because it's something so cultural. And I know also here in the US, white people, whatever, it's just like a cultural thing that comes from back in the days, that men are the, you know, the strong and women are the weak ones. But it's like, no, like men also struggled so much.
To me, like, it's a journey that I'm thankful for. It kind of gave me a bigger purpose in my life. I think whatever, you know, happens in your life, you can decide what to do with it. And to me, this whole thing, that, you know, my mental health journey came as a huge gift with a big requirement of doing the work, of putting the work. I think, you know, to me, I grew up in an environment where like, yeah, like you gotta be strong. You're a guy. You know, I grew up in a school where like fights were a thing. And the guy that could beat every other guy is the strongest guy. I was never a tough kid. Like, you know, I was always like the sensitive kid. Like I grew up in an environment where like, you know, my mom and dad, I love them, but their communication was very violent.
Yeah.
My dad, I never saw my dad approaching to me and be like, yo, I'm shitting my pants because I don't know how I'm gonna pay the rent.
Yeah.
I saw the problems happening. We were having a lot of money issues, whatever it is, but they weren't like presented like in that vulnerability light. So I think, you know, I grew up like that. Then this happens in my adulthood, you know, like I want to say early 30s happens. And it opens up this, I don't want to call it can of worms. I want to call it box of surprises, right? I'm like, what is this? And I start looking into like through therapy and a million other sources, because like, you know, I would say like you need to be able to have the will to do the work.
Yeah.
What am I facing? I feel like shit, bro. Why do you feel like shit? Why are you having these anxiety attacks? Well, probably it's because I'm worried about and blah, blah. And then you go and do the work and you realize so many things.
What do you say to a man that says, but I don't need to go to therapy because I already know that what I'm feeling is not good. I could go read this book about mental health. I can go read this book about how to deal with your emotions. Like, I don't need somebody telling me what I already know.
It's very simple to me. Like, I don't think you can substitute exercise with therapy. I don't think you can substitute eating well with exercise. I think you cannot substitute like the correct like spirituality or balance with therapy. I think it's different things. And think about this. You have your brain, right? And your brain is in our bodies. Our brain is the most fascinating, unknown thing that there is. Mm-hmm. We don't know a lot about our brain. Like when you talk, like we know more about space than our brain. That's a fact, right? So you need tools to understand it. I mean, people is like, oh yeah, I'm going to the gym. I'm doing keto diet, whatever it is. A giant amount of things is like, yeah, that's my gym is my therapy. I'm like, no, therapy is therapy.
Yeah.
You need to have a tool to address how your brain works, because no one, at least in my case, no one told me anything about it.
Yeah.
Here you're feeling this, you're feeling that. This is an emotion. This is a feeling. This is how you address it. You have to have a little bit of knowledge. Like, if you ask me, I'm like, dude, why don't we have more therapy like in schools, growing up and all of that? I think, in my life at least, therapy came like as a shock solution, as an emergency solution to something. But it became something else because I found like, oh, there is a way here where I can know about myself, edify myself, understand myself. Like, I've never till my early 30s, and I'm so thankful for it because there's a lot of people that go their whole life without that thing.
I also do want to add, especially talking about Mexico and Latin America, there's a lot of people that they don't have the access to therapy, because I mean, it's
all they know.
expensive.
It's all they know.
But also like economically wise, because
digo que actúan como actúan porque es lo único que saben.
Of course.
Totally,
Yeah.
100%,
Of course.
So I think that it's incredible that there's all these tools that it's, like books, podcasts, many other things. But I think if someone wants to do therapy and can, because, any circumstances, at least talking, with people, with friends about it. Like, I think guys don't talk to their friends about what they're feeling, because it's usually more like the girls that you're having like something and you call your girlfriend and, like your mom, whatever, you're like more vulnerable about, talking your emotions. But, I don't think that happens. And I see Charlie with some of his friends, talking on the phone or getting together and talking about, just life situations. And I think that's so healthy.
But I think it's also being aware of sometimes some friends are only for certain things, especially in the male community, because I have heard certain guy friends come and like sit on my couch, and I call it my therapy couch because my guy friends end up divulging everything. And I'm like, okay, I didn't know.
Funny.
Therapist
Like, okay.
Yanina,
Okay, you owe me $200.
right? and they'll sit, and I'm like, well, did you ask so-and-so that I know it's a mutual friend? Yeah, they said just, they told me that we should just go out, or they told me that we should do this. And just because your friend is good in doing business with may not always be a good friend to do certain other things
agreed.
in,
Agreed.
But something that I did want to ask you guys was, did you ever feel genuinely either worried or maybe, no sé la palabra, like apprehensive to talk to Paloma once you started discovering why you were feeling what you were feeling?
1,000% to everyone. Because this is the thing, right? I'm in the entertainment industry. I arrived to music a long time ago, 15, 16 years ago. And before that, I worked whatever. And I'm a self-made person and in my profession, right? Through childhood, through adolescence, young adulthood, around me, the way I survived, and I put it like that, was by building this like false like self.
Your mask.
Your mask. So when fast forward to these moments when I'm like, I feel that this mask is just getting disintegrated, right? So there's the fear of like, I'm gonna share myself, and I've never done that because like if you think about it, you grew up in these environments, so there's always the fear of like, hey, is this person gonna want to be with me? Is this person gonna still feel protected? I'm talking about Paloma and I, right? But it goes through every corner of your life. It's like, if I present myself to the world as this guy who has these fears, who is like, I'm shitting my pants because I don't know what's happening in my business, or I'm really afraid of this is going on, or worried about this, is people going to continue to do business with me? Are they going to perceive me as like oh, look at this guy
They
being
now
weak.
see you as weak. Yeah.
Is he a liability?
Right.
Is he this? Because these are things that we've established in our culture. Like, and this is not only yes, obviously it's the American culture and the Latin culture, but I see it like, I've dealt with like Chinese companies, and I see them like, oh, like we've established like, you don't have to show yourself weak because then you become a liability and this and that. I can tell you it's a complete lie. It's a thing that we've culturally written, but like, yeah, that fear, I think till date, I have that fear of like, well, probably if this person knows me like this, it's gonna be like,
the respect level is going to go down.
probably,
the idea that they
yeah.
have of me is no longer this clean, polished, perfect idea.
strong person
Yeah.
that can't figure this whatever out. They're gonna be like, probably he's having a shit time. Probably would like,
Yeah.
but like that's humanity.
Right.
That is exactly what makes you human. Like that is the fiber of humanity. That is what
Yeah.
we all are.
And I also want to say that because, like my partner, my husband, like my person has gone through all of that. I've seen the journey and how he, speaks about it and everything. We've been more conscious and, inform ourselves about this. And it's horrible to see that suicides in men are way higher than in women because of these pressures that I think society and education, everything puts on men, that it's like, you're the strong one, you have to figure out everything, don't say anything. And sadly, I think these people can see like any way out, and they see that this would be the only way out, to take their lives away. But it's horrible to say like, dude, that's, like, where have we gone to, like, que la gente piense que esa es la única salida, porque they can't put out their emotions. And it's like,
And I
dude,
feel like a lot of the times it's like you can't put out your emotions if you're a man if you have nothing going on so far. Like, because you're already like being so hard on yourself. Oh, I haven't figured out a career. I haven't figured out what I want to learn in school or a stable job. And I'm maybe in my 20s and my 30s, and look at my brothers, look at my sisters. My dad is on my ass about like, how are you going to be a man of the family if you haven't figured it out? Or you may be dealing of the dating pool and look at social media, look the kind of cars men are driving, look at the kind of things that men are doing to be able to get girls, to be able to, have this lifestyle. I remember there was another person that I dated a few years ago, and I was getting to know them, and he's Latino, and he literally told me to my face, I can't date you because I don't have enough right now to take care of a family. And until I take care of my immediate family, which is his mom, his siblings, whatever, he's like, I can't even focus on a relationship. So I will be intimate with girls, but I don't even care to build a relationship. And I told him, I said, you're looking at it wrong, because there is a chance that you don't have what I need right now, but you're limiting yourself to be able to love. That is a human feeling that will help you catapult you to get more, open new doors, get confidence in yourself, whatever it is. And I know that a lot of the times in life they tell you not to be codependent, but we were also not meant to be alone.
No, of course not.
And you're supposed to have a partner that is you're able to interchange energy, be able to be your authentic self, take off the mask, not even feel that it's disintegrating when you're at home, but really truly be yourself. It's so unrealistic for, on one side, men to think that women are supposed to feel amazing in a month when we have things coming outside of us once a month for X amount of days. We have, different things going inside of us as hormones, but there is another human that literally has those hormones as well. Different, but still have imbalances, has this like ideas and fears of what structures and limits they're supposed to have reached by a certain age. We have timelines of having babies. They have timelines of how much money you should be making at a certain age, at what kind of career title you should have because of what society tells you, what kind of car you should be driving, because if not, you're not successful.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the times, like, we don't even give space for men to have the ability to say, I'm not doing okay.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean because of the money in my bank account, it's my heart. My heart's not doing okay.
But it's because it's that like cultural thing of like, that makes me weaker. That makes me less valuable. Look, this guy that you dated. When I see him, I'm like, I understand it. But think about the cultural load that he's carrying. He's like, until I figure out this, then I'll be able to probably explore love for myself, because I'm not worthy of that love unless I have this before.
And it was so sad when I heard it. I was like,
but
this breaks my heart.
It's terrible, but it's real.
Yeah.
Like, it's very real, and it's very, it's a cultural like thing. But let me say, like, the suicide rates, like, look, I remember I was having a session a long time with my therapist. I was having a really tough time, and I told him, like, look, bro, I've been reading about, like, all of these suicide rates and all of that, and he asked me this, why are you asking me this? Why are you telling me this? And I told him, because the idea of suicide, not of committing suicide, which is very different, right? Because it's an alarmist, as it is. The idea of suicide is something that rounded my head. He's like, are you okay? And I told him, yeah, I'm okay. But it's something that I've been looking into, and it worries me. He's like, well, you know, it's life. That opened to me like a giant amount of information about like percentages in male suicide, right? It's like 80%.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Across every culture. Just Latinos, just white males, across every culture, right? It's because we don't talk about it. It's because it's very rare to find someone to be like, yo, I've been, you know, questioning the value of my life. How am I gonna say that in front of a guy? Like, how do you dare to say that if you're a guy, right? If you question your self-value, then what is your value in society as a male, as this strong figure that you're supposed to be? And I think the result of that silence, the result of not talking about it, is this amount of suicide rates. This terrible thing that is, and it's the lack of it, the lack of talking about it, the lack of vulnerability, the lack of like, yo, I'm having a terrible time. How are you doing? And, you know, with my friends, I'm like, we ask each other like, yo, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And we call each other like, yo, I'm having a shit time.
But I think that, as Yanina mentioned, and she pointed out, you're very, ¿cómo se dice? Muy privilegiado, o sea, como que
Privileged.
you're very lucky that you have like actually good friends that you can speak about that, because there might be other friends that shut you down, like,
especially in the music industry, to be
Yes,
honest.
but it's intentional. I do have to tell you this. I told Paloma, like, it sounds like tough to say, but you got to be intentional about who do you have around.
Totally.
And I think that men, a lot of the times, don't realize that because, for example, music industry, right?
Yeah.
You have people and you're like, well, I went to high school with this person. I went to college with this person. Now we're in the same industry. We manage different artists, but we, you know, cross paths. That's my boy since the beginning. All this loyalty, but don't check each other on their bad habits, because then, the loyalty is going to be done. Then is it going to cause a fight? Is it going to cause a discourse? Is it going to be a cut of business money? You know? And I think that with women, we're a lot more conversational and maybe not always confrontational, but when we cut somebody, we either talk about it or we cut them off and they never know what happened with that friend, you know? And with men, it's like the idea of even confronting someone and telling them about themselves outside of the accolades that they have. Who are you to tell me that? It's the way they see it, you know? And I think that sometimes that's even why some of my guy friends talk to me about their things and I check them on it. And I'm like, what you're doing is wrong. If you're dating this girl for this wrong reason, like, you're getting older. Get over yourself. I always say this. You have to get so tired of the pile of shit that you're sitting in that it stinks for you to want to make a move in your life. And I think that sometimes guys just spray perfume over it.
Because, you know, to accept that, it has to do with your ego. Look, in order to do whatever, it's like, okay, I'm gonna embark myself onto this journey of self-knowledge. I'm gonna ask for help. I'm gonna share myself. You need to check on your ego and be like, yo, this, and when you face that, it's the same thing. It's like your friends are more comfortable telling you about this because probably it doesn't play to their masculinity about it.
Yeah.
I'm telling my girlfriend about it. It's not another guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's a cultural thing. I do believe that, you know, you need to have people around you that you can have those conversations with. Male friends. I have those male friends.
Yeah, you're lucky. You're lucky.
But what do they do if you feel like, okay, they're not doing therapy right now? Let's even put it deeper. They can't afford therapy right now. Now they look at their circle and they're like, fuck, this guy over here cheats on his wife. That guy over here is doing drugs. This guy over here is like big boss, super successful. I can't even open up to him. I'm gonna look like a little weak bitch, you know? How do they find someone to be able to talk to in that circle that they have? How would you suggest that? You
try to disarm your ego, go as honest to the world as you can, and whoever is around for that person is your circle.
I also think it's really important. I've done this since I was little, and I don't know if it would help a man because who knows if they'll be in this spot in their life. But I always journal and pray to God to remove whoever's not supposed to be in my life. And I kid you not, call me a good brujita. No. They leave like this.
It is that.
Yeah, but here the thing is the same thing, like the will of saying like, okay, maybe I'll just have one friend now because that's the person that actually, like can listen to me and we're on the same thing. But no, I don't want to be alone. So I'm going to be surrounded by 20 people and a lot of bullshit, So it's all about, for me, the will of wanting that.
And
also.
wanting to get better, so you might have to isolate.
Exactly, 100%.
You know what happened to me? I think 2020 played a big card on me. 2020, I was, pandemic and everything, and it got very tricky for me. Mm-hmm. And I was doing a lot of therapy, and I was doing a lot of like my self-work, but I wasn't still as open about it as I was. And I think 2020 played me a card that was very interesting to me. I'm like, okay, you're gonna be facing this thing, you're gonna be in this lockdown and all of that. And I told to a couple of friends, I was very, very new into meditation. It was 2 or 3 years into meditation. That's a different story, but meditation found me in a way that when I was like, hey, God help me in that vulnerability, God put in front of me something that I'm like, oh, meditation. And I learned about it. I'm like, oh, well. But I think 2020 gave me the opportunity of like, and the space to share with a couple of friends, like, hey, I'm feeling this, how are you feeling? I'm feeling this. And that evolved into, hey, why don't we meditate together? Lex, for example, 2020, I meditated with Lex for like months and months daily. I'm like, and to me, it was like, bro, this is just out of how do we keep our sanity? Almost 5 years after, or 6 years after, I'm like, what a huge blessing in disguise. Yeah. That understanding of like, I have these friends that I can share with myself with this. And look, also like, you don't have to expect for someone to react in a certain way when you share yourself.
Yeah.
That's others' problem.
How would you want a person that has a partner, like in this case, your partner is Paloma, to respond when this is happening? Like, did she instantly respond how you wanted her to? And what was that? And if she didn't, how would you suggest for a partner, if they're listening, to respond to their partner, if they're experiencing all of these emotions?
I've told Paloma like a million times, like, I'm so thankful. I don't think you expect anything. I think you just like hope that the person that is there, that you have a person, number one, that is open to like, and that the person that is there is just, whatever it is trying to figure out with you together.
And I think sometimes too, the fear of opening up is bigger than seeing how a person reacts. I'm not saying that's the case always. I have come across people where they're like, I opened up and my friend's partner at the time told her like, grow the fuck up, like grow up. You're a man, get it together. And he was telling me, he was like, I never want to open up again.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
But that's the thing, again,
yeah,
you don't control how the other people react.
But I told him, I said, that can't be what stops you.
No.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how she was raised. So this healing has to be for you first. And if it doesn't work out with her, then this was your time shared with her. Because I've been on the other end where I have been emotional. I have gone through anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and the person I was with did not understand it. Do I think they would understand it now because of their growth? 1000%. But at that time, I was feeling so much that I went back to therapy because I didn't want to feel it, but for myself. And I think that you can't dilute your drowning feeling for someone else's comfortability.
You shouldn't.
And I also want to say that, like, I know a lot of women, like, especially, listen to this podcast, is like, if you're with someone because you love that person, I mean, you don't know, like, the right words, what to say or what to do, I perfectly get that because I've been there. But when you act from love, I think that's the most important, like, love and empathy. Because you have to,
what would you say to someone that doesn't know what empathy is?
Put yourself on the other one's shoes. Like, if I were Charlie in that moment and I was feeling that, how would I like for someone to respond to that moment? Or, okay, he's going through that. What is he feeling? Because sometimes has happened that he gets like not anymore lately, but he was like in a panic attack and I was like, oh, not now, like there's a lot. But I want to say, like, what is he going through? What is he thinking? What is he feeling? So I want to put myself genuinely and deeply into his situation. And then, like, try to act from there. And I think the most important thing, just as humans in any situation, is just like act from love. Try to be like kind and patient. Yeah. I think those are like the most important things. And obviously it's hard, like, as I told you, I thankfully had my mom, and there's like friends that helped us and everything. It's hard, but when you do things from heart and try to help as much as possible with the goodwill and the heart, I think that's when it's, like que sirve, when things funcionan.
So we talked about the journey. How do you feel now?
I feel awesome, dude, and I'm thankful for it. Like, look, it's this thing, this when I see it, like, 10 years ago, like roughly, like this moment where like my mental health thing exploded, and it wasn't something that was happening there. It was very old trauma since I'm a kid and all that. It exploded but it put me in the path of working on myself. It opened a path for I think everyone around me to be like, oh, look at this guy working. Why don't we like whatever? It opened a path to me to a good life. Right now, like if you ask me, I don't believe we would have even be able to like continue to work together, probably even be together. We wouldn't be like we have a good marriage. We work on it. Therapy extends. I think in our story even more that like, it exploded like that, but it extends to like that. Paloma and me, we for the last like 2 or 3 years, we've been doing couples therapy. And we arrived to couples therapy in a rough situation that we needed help with. We consider like, hey, we need help to communicate, to learn more, whatever. Again, the same thing. 2 or 3 years in, you realize like, oh wait, now we're having a great time, but we still need therapy because that great time is something that we built.
Yeah. And I do want to say, because sometimes a man may listen to this, or even a woman, and think, oh my God, so if I start therapy now, I'm going to be in therapy for the rest of my life. I've been in therapy in and out since I was 13 years old. Right now I'm not in therapy, but I actually told someone recently, I think I want to go back to therapy, and I have to figure out how to find the right therapist, because there is things that I want to now at my age and in the season that I'm in, understand and know if I'm actually understanding it correctly. But there's been years that I haven't gone to therapy, and there's been times where I remember that I think right before the pandemic, I started therapy again, and I was doing it weekly, and then after 3 months, I went bi-weekly. And then after that, I went once a month. And then I was like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
So I think also the understanding of the daunting feeling of, if I start therapy now, am I going to be in therapy for 60 years? Hey, you may, or you may not. There's no timeline of it.
But you shouldn't look at it as a load or something you carry. It's like going to the gym, right?
For me, actually, I look forward to it, because for me, I've created a safe space where nobody's gonna judge you. It's someone's external, and there's so many things always to talk about. Like family, heritage, genes that you're carrying that you don't even know that you have, and like day-to-day things that happen. So there's so many things, and obviously you're saying like you can like choose or not, but for me, I do it because I want to be a better person. And I think that helps me a lot, because there's always so many things around me all the time. My partner is dealing with his mental health situation, but I also need to like learn a lot of things about that. So it's because I really do love it. If I felt that it wasn't like for me, obviously, it's not an obligation.
Yeah.
And you can have, as you're saying, your periods of time, So I think it's different for every person. So yeah, it's nothing to freak out that, oh my God, I'm going to be, no, you'll see and you'll feel
but if
it's
yes,
for you.
It's fine.
It's awesome for me.
To me, it's
awesome.
Like, and what are you doing? Like, because when you the conversation about health is something that is really like blossomed globally, right? I'm like, yeah, physical health, mental health, spiritual health, all of these like different pillars of what wellness is should address them. So therapy addresses mental health.
Yeah.
It's just that. Like, it's not like, oh, but I'm gonna be enslaved to this. You shouldn't look at it like that.
Yeah.
You're gonna be having a tool. You're gonna, try to use it for yourself, and it can be wonderful, I believe. And yes, podcasts are a wonderful tool. Reading books is a wonderful tool. I found this, like, when I read books about whatever it is, mental health, psychotherapy, like whatever it is that has to do with mental health, when I'm doing therapy and I'm reading those books, it creates this like bouncing knowledge, ideas, and it enriches each other. So, for example, I have people that is very close to me that they're like, I'm not gonna tell my issues to someone that I don't know. I can read. I'm like, yeah, but imagine having someone that you don't know that you can tell your issues with, that has the knowledge to address you as you're reading.
It's like book. The book is reading back. It's talking
God.
back to you.
Exactly.
So to my therapist, current therapist, which is it's a psychotherapist, he suggests me books, and I have many therapists in different like spaces of my life, and they've suggested me like books. or podcasts or experiences, you should do this kind of meditation. I had a therapist for a couple of years that is like an alternative therapist, right? And for 2 years, he was like, we're going to talk about neurological theory. We're going to talk about how is your brain behaving, your hormones, what is like meditation to it. This is a guy that studies like, how meditation affects your body physically and why physically and quantum physics and all of that. All of these tools, I'm like, I can read whatever, but it's the same thing. You go to school because you have a teacher. Yeah. So having an expert bouncing this knowledge with you, like it's a huge thing and it's necessary in life.
Right. Okay, so to close it off, what are some things that you do now in your life as an individual and as partners to help not only his mental health, but your mental health and your mental health as a partnership? Because just like a relationship, singular, you have to be good to be able to combine together. The same thing goes for mental health, to be able to work cohesively, to be able to love cohesively. You have to be able to have certain habits that you guys both do, but then also that you guys do as individuals. So what are they?
Well, for me first, and I've always told Charlie, like, you have to be in a good place. I have to be in a good place so we can be good together. Because when we were growing up, I don't know if that's a say here in the US, but in Mexico, it's like, encuentra tu media naranja. It's like, find your, like...
Missing puzzle
You
piece.
better have.
Yes, you better have. Pero siempre es media naranja, and the songs talk about that. Like, you're not complete if you don't find someone. But then growing, I'm like, no, you're a complete orange, you're a complete naranja, and you have to be great. The other one has to be great, and you can be great together. So I think, first of all, it's working a lot on yourself.
Yeah.
So you can be in a great, healthy relationship, because we've been through a lot of things, So working on yourself, things that I think we've done together is like always trying to do like things for ourselves, never like lose that, like try to go to dates, give ourselves like time together, because, like we're always like working and, on the go, like don't forget that we're a couple and we need like our time off. So we're always trying to, do that effort of, always having that spark, like arreglarte, putting yourself like pretty and everything for your husband, going out, and therapy together help us a lot. And communication. That's, I think, the biggest, like talking about your feelings, talking about like as partners in the business, but also like, in life. I think communication is the key, because we have been also in moments that we haven't communicated ourselves a lot, and it's like a rough path. So I think communicating, it's like the key,
I think, number one, nothing more valuable than your inner peace. And inner peace is just achievable if you present yourself in honesty. Because if not, then you're in this duplicity of like what you are and how you're presented to the world as. That duplicity generates like, this is a therapy thing, like it generates a space for a false self to build. If you don't have that, the closest you can be from your soul to your reality, that is, and make, just do the work. Do the work. Like there's no way around it. Do the work. Be ready to do the work, to work on yourself. To me, I meditate daily, religiously. If I don't, then it's an issue for me.
Yeah.
I have the strongest belief in like, I've been able to shape my life much more through meditation than through other things. I believe it from my heart. So I meditate daily. I commit to it. It doesn't matter where I am. I meditate on planes, on whatever, or by walking, whatever. Therapy. Paloma is very religious with her therapy. She's always like, Charlie, are you having your therapy and all that? She's very disciplined. That discipline is your love too. Be aware of what's going on to you. And do the work. As a couple, like our couples therapy journey, it's been wonderful. It's been so edifying for as a couple. It's built communication. It's built a better environment. It's built this exchange of honesty that I don't even believe a lot of couples that I know that have been together for 60 years probably, they don't have that honesty. Why? Because when you're with your partner, hey, guess what? You can have a third person that is a professional, but you have to be willing to do the work, willing to be honest, willing to like this, and this is for yourself. All of this thing, the most benefited person is yourself. Again, this doesn't if you have $1 billion, we know billionaires that have taking their own lives.
Yeah.
And we know poor people too. That's how important money is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I know people that is really poor that is having a blast. They're working on themselves. And I have people that is very successful. So this whole thing that we create of like, male should be successful, women should be married by this thing, all of that, it's a social construction, it's a lie.
Yeah.
It's a big fat lie for our self-value. The only people that can find self-value in yourself is yourself. And that's what you will present to the world. And you do that by working on yourself. Do the work. It's just, to me, it's just that. Love yourself enough to do the work. Like literally, love yourself enough to do the work.
I think that's a beautiful sentence to end on it.
Yeah.
I think that whether it's for yourself, for your partner, you have to first, like you said, do the work and do it. Love yourself enough to do it. And maybe if you don't love yourself, then be honest with the fact that you currently don't love yourself. And that's the first step, right?
And that's doing the work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you're aware, you're like, ugh, this feels shitty, but I clearly haven't loved myself. So thank you guys so much for being on this episode. I think it's so beautiful. We'll make sure to add on the description links, helplines, and different platforms that you guys can go for assistance. Thank you so much for Paloma for being here, and Charlie, and just bringing awareness to this. So I'm sure this is not going to be the last time that we talk. And make sure that you guys subscribe, follow, and make sure to keep listening and watching. And until next time.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.